Hi, everyone, and welcome to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this TV series season review as part of my March 2022 horror series, which is taking a look at the entire Tales from the Darkside series from the mid 80s, 83 to 88, basically, it aired. So today we're going to take a look at season two. I have season one up on my channel if you want to check out my review on my favorite episodes from season one and my least favorite episodes from season one. That's up there for you to view. But this is all about season two today. So we're just going to go ahead and get into it here. I'll start by saying that season two is quite a bit stronger than season one, in my opinion. The season one was good. It had a lot of good episodes and some great episodes, but season two, here's how you know how good it is. So I grade on a 5 point scale, and only one episode the entire season got less than a 3 out of 5. So needless to say, it was harder to come up with my least. I have to call them my least favorite episodes. I can't even call them bad episodes because a couple of them are going to be 3 out of 5s. It's kind of hard to call those bad episodes. But yeah, season two was really strong from the special effects to the suspense to the stories and the premises. I thought it was just much stronger, much more consistently across the board from beginning to end. And season one was kind of like this, kind of hills and valleys, where season two was much more like this, if that makes sense to you. Um, so as much as I search, we'll start with my bottom three episodes from season two. Um, and I'll also have a dishonorable mention for my bottom three as well as an honorable mention for my top five, just like I did for season one. So my dishonorable mention for season two is going to be one that's entitled, and I have my notes here. It's entitled Dream Girl, that aired on January 19th, 1986. It was episode 14 of season two. This is one about a theatrical director who finds herself and her coworkers trapped in the dreams of a stagehand, basically. Again, I gave this episode a 3 out of 5. So it wasn't awful. I thought the premise was interesting. If you know me, you know that I'm somebody that's really interested in dreams and dream theory, things like that. But the episode just didn't quite, it didn't stick the landing for me. It had an interesting concept, but it really didn't do much with it, in my opinion. It really didn't go anywhere. It wasn't really that scary. Just kind of weird and just kind of left me empty, I guess. So that's the reason why it's my dishonorable mention. So now we get to my bottom three for season two. Coming in at number three is going to be a late season episode that aired on May 18th, 1986, episode 22, entitled The Unhappy Medium. Um, this was the one about the televangelist who passed away and basically takes possession of one of his surviving family members to has to do with heaven and hell, and it's an okay episode. I thought it was kind of cheaply done. It looked kind of cheaply in terms of the effects that they used. Um, but again, it was a decent episode. I gave it 3 out of 5, but I have to have some least favorite somewhere for this season. It was very difficult to come up with any, but I don't think this episode was particularly scary. I don't think the effects worked, and it just kind of was just kind of an okay episode for me. So that's why it's my number three. Um, Number two, my second least favorite. I have to find it here. The Satanic Piano is my number two least favorite episode. This was early in the season, episode six, that aired on November 3rd, 1985. 1985. I gave this a 3 out of 5 as well. This is the one about the musician who's in a creative slump and he buys a special instrument that basically can read a person's thoughts and transform them into music. I don't know. It was kind of an interesting concept, but again, they didn't really land it for me. It wasn't really scary. It involves his daughter, and I don't know. It was just kind of it was a decent episode, but again, nothing that really blew my skirt up. And then finally, my least favorite episode, and the one episode that I did give a less than 3 out of 5 for the season, I gave it 2.5 out of 5, which is still decent. It's an average rating, you might say. But this was the second to the last episode of the season, entitled "Fear of Floating." that aired on May 23rd, 1986, episode 23. This is a pretty silly premise about a guy that has to be tied down with these like heavy cement shoes or something because he starts floating. Um, he claims it's because he's part of a human balloon in a circus. The reality is he floats because he lies. I don't know. It's kind of whatever. I mean, you get Lisa Simpson in this episode, a very young Yardley Smith, the voice of Lisa Simpson. That was somewhat interesting, but other than that, this episode was pretty forgettable for me. Definitely my least favorite. And I know it was meant to be kind of a lighthearted episode. It did have a little blood splatter at the end that I kind of enjoyed as the ending credits. That probably gave it a 2.5 instead of just a 2, but it's a pretty forgettable episode, especially in a strong season like season 2 of Tales from the Dark Side. Okay, on to bigger and better things. And this was much harder to come up with my top 5 list, including my honorable mention. But I did come up with 6, including my honorable mention. My honorable mention is going to be only episode 4 early in the season that aired on October 20th, 1985, entitled Parlor Floor Front. This is about a young couple and who are the landlords of this apartment building. They end up learning that one of their tenants is a voodoo practitioner, basically, and there's kind of a twist in this episode, but it has a really good ending, a very creepy, suspenseful sort of ending that I really enjoyed. The characters are certainly not the most likable, especially the couple, especially the woman of the couple. But yeah, it was a really good episode. I really enjoyed the ending to it, having to do with black magic and voodoo and things like that. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a really, really solid episode. So that's my honorable mention. Coming at number 5 is much later in the season, and that is going to be The Old Soft Shoe is the title. Episode 18 that aired on February 16th, 1986. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. This was about the guy who's apparently a former dancer who's now a lingerie salesman. He rents a room at a motel, and let's just say it's the wrong room that he ends up staying in. Um, yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a woman that he stumbles across in his room, and it's another episode that really sticks the landing for me. I like episodes that really kind of leave you um, either creeped out or they really stick the landing with the premise that they're going for. And this one does a good job with it, The Old Soft Shoe. So definitely one to check out. That's my number 5 favorite episode of the season. Number 4 is kind of midway through the season, episode 15 that aired on January 26, 1986. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5, and that's entitled A New Lease on Life. Um, This was the one about the gentleman who moves into St. George apartment complex, and he receives a modern, full equipped apartment of his dreams, basically. He thinks it's too good to be true, and as it turns out, it is. Not surprisingly. But I really like the effects in this episode. It's very creepy. The characters in the episode, the acting was really good. But the characters in the episode are creepy. It kind of has like a light, it's not an overly dark episode. It has kind of a light, funny feel to it, but it's still done creepily at the same time, if that makes sense. It isn't overly like humorous. It isn't like Mookie or Pookie level. Um, but it has a really interesting and different kind of premise, and it's creepy but funny at the same time. Just a very enjoyable episode, a new lease on life. Check it out. That's my number 4 for the season. Then we get into the top 3. I gave all 3 of these top 3s a 4.5 out of 5. None of them, I haven't given a 5 out of 5 yet in this whole series, but maybe there'll still be one coming. We still have 2 seasons to go. We'll see. But coming in at number 3 is actually the last episode of the season, entitled the Castlevan Curse, I think it's called, that aired on July 13th, 1986. Episode 24, the final episode of season 2, obviously. Once again, I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. This has to do with this woman who ends up killing everybody that she falls in love with, basically. Um, Basically has to do with a curse being put on. It has a really nice twist at the end that I didn't see coming. So that automatically put it in my top 5. Anytime they can give me a twist that I didn't predict. Some of the episodes predictable, having to do with the psychologist. I'll just leave it at that. Knowing that he was going to end up falling for this woman, and you know, but the other part of the twist I really didn't see coming. I thought it was a really good episode all the way through. You got some blood and gore in it. You definitely got some suspense and an interesting story and premise. And I was pretty taken by it. So yeah, the Castlevan curse. I think I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But, the final episode, the Castlevan curse, is my number 3 favorite episode from season 2. Number 2 is another one towards the end of the season. That's episode 19 that aired on February 23rd, 1986, entitled The Last Car. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 as well. This is about a college student, a young woman who boards a train to trying to go home for Thanksgiving, but once she gets on there's only room on the last car of the train, and once she gets on, she realizes that things are a little weird. The people that are on the car are a little weird. The fact that the train doesn't stop. It's just got a lot of weird things that go on. Also, something having to do with a tunnel, that when they pass through a tunnel. It's got a pretty horrifying reveal at the end, and they do a really good job with makeup and practical effects in this episode. Just very suspenseful, very fun, almost dreamlike episode, that leaves you guessing till the very end as far as what's going on. I really enjoyed it. The Last Car, my second favorite episode of season 2. But there could only be one number 1, much like season 1. And for me, I was the most blown away and impressed by an early episode from the season, episode 7, that aired on November 10th, 1985. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It's with Jerry Stiller, the late Jerry Stiller, rest in peace. And it's entitled The Devil's Advocate. So this has to do with a rude and arrogant, mean-spirited talk show host on the radio, basically. A show that's known as The Devil's Advocate. And let's just say that that title sort of comes to fruition. That's about as much as I want to give away. Yeah, it's a really good episode. Very good practical effects, very good scares and tension, very good acting by Jerry Stiller. There's a transformation that happens through the second half of the episode that at first I had to see if it was me and if I noticed some changes. They did a really good job with it. It's just an outstanding episode, the best episode of season 2 for my money. The Devil's Advocate. So be sure to check that one out as well as the other ones I mentioned. Otherwise, as I said, even ones I didn't mention, they all got threes out of 5s, 3.5s out of 5s, and even some 4s out of 5s. That weren't part of my group. Like Halloween Candy was one that got a 4 out of 5. Ursa Minor got a 4 out of 5. Effect and Cause, that one came the closest actually to being mentioned on my list. Effect and Cause, I really like that episode, especially the ending. Monsters in My Room, Printer's Devil. So those are just a few honorable mentions, I guess, that got 4 out of 5 for me. The whole season is just very strong. I could go back and watch the majority of this season and maybe only skip 1 or 2 episodes at the end of the day. Definitely overall stronger than season 1. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of season 2. I'd be interested to hear your least favorite episode of season 2 and your favorite episodes of season 2. I'd be really curious to hear them. Be sure to like this video and hit the little notification bell below so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos reviewing this series. Of course, at the end of the month, after I review all 4 seasons, I'll have my top 10 episodes of the entire series and my bottom 5 episodes of the entire series, probably with an honorable and a dishonorable mention with that list as well. But be sure to subscribe to my channel as well so you don't only not miss the rest of this series, but you don't miss the rest of the next 3 or 4 months, which I already have planned out for my channel. So that's season 2 for Tales from the Darkside. Looking forward to starting season 3 right away tonight. Hopefully it's as good as season 2. But thank you for watching this video and stay scared. Bye.